how you resolve conflict in marriage without it turning into a fight. Hey, Sydney, thanks so much for being with me today to discuss your new article. And I'm taking notes because I can learn some things here. What's the big myth around conflict?
Yeah, it's kind of the myth that it's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be destructive. It's always going to be unproductive.
But does it have to be bad?
I think that's a good question, right? Why does it feel like a threat? I think if we hear all the ways that we're wrong or are failing, that's going to feel really threatening.
What does it take to have conflict not be so threatening?
I think just starting with this idea of safety, remembering that you guys are on a team and the conflict is the problem. It's just like a muscle you gotta work out. You gotta do your reps. You gotta learn the skills. Somebody's gotta teach you. You're just not alone, and most people don't have that model or example.
You talk a little bit about secret ingredients to avoiding conflict. Can you let us in on the secret?
Yes, these are my two favorite things that you'll definitely hear me talk about if you're one of my clients.
In this episode of the Road to Happiness podcast, I'm going to be joined by NICC therapist Sydney Blanchard from MyCounselor.Online, and we're going to be discussing her new article on how you resolve conflict in marriage without it turning into a fight. If you're dating, if you're married, this video is going to help you because we're going to look at the big myths around conflict. We're going to look about why conflict feels like a threat in our nervous system, how to establish safety, and really what the secret ingredients are to avoiding conflict. So you're not going to want to miss it because you're going to learn some things that help you mature into true happiness. The Road to Happiness podcast is made possible by MyCounselor.Online. Hey, we all need some help every now and then. And the counselors at MyCounselor.Online are thrilled to come alongside you and help you navigate all the challenges in relationship or just life, the obstacles that life throws at you that get in the way. So check them out, MyCounselor.Online. They'd be honored to serve you. Hey, Sydney, thanks so much for being with me today to discuss your new article. So, how do you resolve conflict in marriage without it turning into a fight? And I'm taking notes because I can learn some things here. I just want to ask you first, what's the big myth around conflict? You talk about when it comes to conflict in couples and relationship that there's this big myth. So lay it on us.
Yeah, it's kind of the myth that it's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be destructive. It's always going to be unproductive. It's not being peaceful. So now it could mean we're even being immoral. It's overall that it's just going to be harmful and end in disconnection. And I kind of just want to
get afraid of it, right? We get afraid of conflict we're not supposed to have conflict. Like if we're good Christians, we love Jesus, and then, we should never have any fights, never have any conflict in relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
We get that confused.
We get that message sometimes.
And even just most conflict we see, in movies, it's violent, it's drama. Sometimes our own negative experiences start coming into play, and maybe those have been harmful or unproductive. Yeah. So it's also really valid too.
Yeah, it makes sense why we get there. I think it's one of those. It's a myth, but it's also a lie. I think a lie from the enemy that he uses to shame us, and because I know growing up for myself, I did not have real healthy examples of how to navigate conflict well. Like it meant something in my head for, mom and dad to fight. And that picture that I had in my head was not what I wanted for myself. But then I also didn't know how to avoid it.
Yes, which is totally normal. I think most people would say the same. They've seen conflict go awry. So it is feel like a threat.
Yeah, it's not weird to be a little uneasy about conflict.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But does it
very
have to
valid.
be bad?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, right? Why does it feel like a threat? I
Hmm.
think if we hear all the ways that we're wrong or are failing, that's gonna feel really threatening and really activate our defensiveness, right? But when we do that, we really kind of lose attention for our spouse, space to actually hear what our partner's trying to say that they're actually feeling and needing. It just takes up all the space. We have no energy to be really present and try to understand them. Our nervous system is so focused on using our defenses, and everyone has their little defense, that they use. We all have them. But just using those defenses, we got to survive the threat. And so it can feel that way for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. We've all seen conflict be destructive,
Yes.
and likely in our own stories, certainly in mine, I was so immature early in relationship that I didn't know how to navigate conflict well, and it was destructive. And so it felt like maybe just avoiding conflict was the best answer. And
Yeah.
it took some really my own therapy, my own work to come to understand that it doesn't have to be destructive. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
this is was profound news for me. I know
Yes.
maybe for lots of folks watching this, they're like, "Oh, that's duh, Josh." But for me, I just hadn't had any examples of it, and
Yeah.
so I didn't know that conflict
Mm-hmm.
could actually be a gateway to more intimacy and kind of a closer kind of
Mm-hmm.
relationship. Like, what do you see for couples on the other side of them discovering a different way of doing conflict? What does that do for them?
I think you just said it so brilliantly. It is a way. It's a path. It's a bridge. Like it can actually be a bridge for deeper connection. When you're having this disagreement or different viewpoints, and you're able to turn towards each other and understand each other and look at the problem as the enemy, not each other. I mean, that's teamwork. That's marriage. That's intimacy. That can
Mm,
deepen. That deepens the connection. It doesn't have to destroy it. It's that bridge.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, we're able to get out of those crazy cycles that are destructive and actually, have some meaningful dialogue. What's the foundation for that? Like, what do you think? What does it take to have conflict not be so threatening?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think just starting with this idea of safety, and I think even just remembering that you guys are on a team and the conflict is the problem and you guys are going to figure it out. So when I say safety, even just awareness of can we slow this down? Like your tone of voice, our body language,
Mm,
does it feel safe in the room with each other right now? Or is the temperature really hot, really high? And so that's one thing that comes to mind is like, can we just check in on the temperature? Can it feel safe? And maybe just notice what could make it feel safer for both of us. I've even seen some couples, they'll make each other wear like mustaches while they talk about conflict, or like put their noses together when they talk. And we don't have to go to that extreme, but again, just kind of notice like what could help make you guys feel safer. Even just asking that question. This is a hot topic, sweetie.
yeah,
How do we cool this down? What feels safe for us? Do we go to our favorite coffee shop and talk? Just getting creative, just feeling safe there with each other, whatever that looks like for a couple.
yeah. It's that you know uh, awareness that we really do like each other.
Yes. We're
Because it's so
teammates.
easy to lose sight of that when
Mm-hmm.
emotions are high and we feel the kind of intensity, or when we're feeling frustrated with this person, because no one can frustrate us more than the people that we love the most. There's
Yes.
that vulnerability of relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I think it's easy to lose sight of that,
Mm-hmm.
and we start to see the other as an enemy as opposed to somebody that is on our team that does care about us. And there's something about being able to kind of hold that in our heart, that yes, there's conflict, yes, there's tension that we have here, but we really do like each other. We really
Mm-hmm.
are for each other. That and we really do. We're not trying to undermine the other's existence by
Mm-hmm.
seeing the world different than them.
Mm-hmm. A little heart check there. I love that. How you put that.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk a little bit about secret ingredients to like avoiding conflict. Can you let us in on the secret?
Yes, these are my two favorite things that you'll definitely hear me talk about if you're one of my clients is curiosity and compassion. My two
Mm,
favorite things. And just to kind of define those a little more, curiosity is really kind of a coming close to understand,
mm.
not to judge and analyze so you can deconstruct all the ways they're wrong, like your spouse is
It's
wrong. Not
not
that
that.
kind of
No,
curiosity.
I'm taking
But
notes.
yeah, it sounds like, tell me more. Help
Mm,
me understand how you got there. Help me see what I'm missing. How did you get there? Where did you come up with that idea? What does that mean to you? Help me, right? Just being really curious until you can really start to see their perspective, see their emotions, what they're asking
mm,
for, understand it a little bit more. And then compassion really is this deep understanding of someone else, a kindness, a recognition. Maybe something's really difficult here. That could sound like, I see how you see this issue that way. I think I see your heart here. Like you're just wanting to make sure this. I can see how hard maybe that is for you. I can understand how that could be really upsetting to hear from me. Like just, I,
mm.
I see, I get that. I get where you're coming from. I get what you're feeling right now, you know?
Yeah, there's something really disarming about curiosity and compassion. And like when
Mhm.
things feel elevated, and I'm frustrated, I'm upset with something or another, for Cassie to engage me with curiosity about where I'm coming from
Yeah.
and with a compassionate heart that says, I may not agree with you. I may not really understand why you feel what it is that you feel, but I
Mhm.
do care about you and I do
Mhm.
care about what it is that you're feeling. So I'm motivated to be curious about what's happening under the surface for you. Where are you coming from?
Mhm.
And there's just something really disarming about that posture. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, I can take a deep breath. Like I
Yeah.
feel maybe not under attack or threatened as much by this conversation because you're not out to get me.
Yes, like there's my best friend. You care about me.
Mm,
That's right. Okay.
mm,
So good.
huge. Yeah, there's this curiosity and compassion. Sometimes there's this fear, I think, that if we approach with curiosity, that we lose the right to like have our own opinion or our own thoughts or to feel differently. It's like if I'm
Mhm.
curious about what you're feeling, does that mean what I'm feeling doesn't matter in the
Mhm.
situation? Would you speak to that? What would you say as you're meeting with a couple and there's this kind of resistance to engaging with curiosity because of that?
Absolutely. I would say I totally agree. I thought the same thing, I thought, oh, you can't have space to be curious and understand them. That means, oh, there's some fear. Like, that means I must agree with them now. And that's
Mm,
not it. That's actually not true. If you heard from my examples above, in those responses, neither included, okay, I absolutely agree with you now, and I feel what you feel. I totally get it now. That's not necessarily true. There's that myth around curiosity and compassion as well, that means you have to accept or agree, but it doesn't have to. It just means I care, I'm with you, I hear you, I'm curious enough to get close to you and understand. And the biggest thing I say to my couples is we're going for attunement, not
mm,
agreement. Can
mm.
you don't have to lose your point of view, but you do have to be able to see and understand a little bit more, care for your partner there so you can stay connected. And when you
Yeah.
do that, there's so much freedom there. You can
Mm.
have some space to explore, to hold them in their view and emotions, their needs, to be present. Because now their perspective, it doesn't have to feel like a threat. Like I have to be there with them.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Can you say more about that? I love that. We're not looking for agreement, we're looking for attunement. in that. Can you talk to me about attunement in contrast with agreement? When you say like, okay, so I don't have to feel the same way. I don't have to think the same way. And so I don't have to agree, but I can still attune. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, I get the image of like dialing in, like tuning in on a radio station, right? Like I'm trying to get close to you. I'm trying to hear what you're saying. I'm trying to care and get close and just be present with you. And I think spouses forget that power of presence, that I'm tuned into you, I hear you, I see you, I'm with you, and I still have my own stuff over here too that's holding two things at the same time. And oftentimes what you're really needing from your spouse is that presence. Like that's so powerful. That's where you can start getting some creative solutions flowing when you're together because you're tuned in with each other. Does that make
I love
sense?
that picture of holding two things at the same time, right? It's not like I have to give up my own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. I don't have to agree in order to hold space for, holding how my spouse sees this or how they experience the situation. That we're actually capable of holding both and making space for both. And that's that attunement that you're talking about, not disregarding my own experience in order to adopt someone else's, but also not dismissing another person's in order to be able to hold mine, that it is actually possible to do both. And which, if you haven't ever seen it before, you honestly kind of go, oh, what? Like, I don't even draw a question mark around that.
I even had a spouse today say, I hear what you're saying, sweetheart. I care what you're saying, and I'm also holding a lot of like pain that I feel right now. And so I have this pain and I'm also hearing you and I'm seeing you and I do care. And they were able to do that exactly what we're talking about, and how cool there's space to do that.
Yeah. Say a little bit more about that. So, how do we know, to seek professional help, and how does it help? Like, I love hearing just a little picture you're sharing from that session today. What are the things that you do with a couple in a session that's coming in, that's got conflict, is having, difficulty around their communication? Like, how do they know if they should get help, and how is it going to be helpful for them if they do?
Yeah. Definitely starting out that James passage comes to mind, being quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. So what that really looks like for me in a session when I help someone be present with themselves first before they dare try to be present with their spouse. What I mean by that is noticing their own, defenses, noticing, do they get quiet and go away? Do they get really, pushy and critical? Do they just start shutting down? Do they criticize? What is it that their defenses are? And so we just start noticing that together, naming these two things together. That's really one of the first things. And then, just practically helping them to put language to some of their, like how they're actually feeling, the emotions, and also the needs that they really need to express, and they have trouble vulnerably sharing. It's really vulnerable to stay with yourself, to say, no, this is actually how I'm feeling and what I'm needing from you. That is super hard to do and vulnerable. What's easy is just like throwing some grenades. Like, you haven't done this, you said you were going to do this, then you went and did that. That's easy. Something hard is saying it hurt me when I got scared when that didn't happen, and I really need this. That's the hard stuff. So I just help people with the language. I help support them to reach, and I help their spouse to know how to be present and try to respond to that. So that's kind of, we slow it all down, we really slow.
It sounds like magic, like sometimes, like I remember growing up in a home where I didn't witness this, happen for me. I like my head cocked sideways, like, does that really happen? Do people really do that? I just had no concept for it and no framework for it for myself. And so, Amanda, to have someone coach me through that,
Mm-hmm.
somebody help me see myself and understand myself in those moments,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to communicate what I'm trying to say, but I can never seem to find the right way to say. It always goes poorly when I try to.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly somebody's helping coach me through that in a way that helps me not mess it up,
Mm-hmm.
but actually learn how to do it well. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like
It's a
magic.
skill. It's a skill too. We got to learn it, and we all got to
It
learn it.
is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that you said that, because, I felt so much shame, I think, myself around it early on. I thought, I love Jesus. I love my wife. Why is this so hard? Like it should be easy. It should be natural. It should
Mm-hmm.
just happen. And it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And it felt so much shame around it. And there's something about understanding that's a skill set, I
Yes, it's
didn't
a muscle
feel
we
bad
got.
about being bad at golf. Nobody ever taught me how to golf. So I don't know how to golf in that. But it's not because I'm failing as a human. It's just a skill that I haven't acquired yet. And it
Mm-hmm.
really is like that, right? Like you can help couples acquire the skills to be able to have conflict and have it not be destructive, but actually bring them closer together.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like a muscle you got to work out. You got to do your reps. You got to learn the skills. Somebody's got to teach you. You're just not alone, and most people don't have that model or example. And so we got to learn it, and that's okay. It's part of it. So
I love it. It's such a hopeful just way to end. So we're discussing that, this is not something you're either born with or you're not born with. But really at any stage of life, it's a skill set that you can learn and really, benefit from for the rest of your life. So thanks
yeah.
for taking some time to distill some of that wisdom from your work with couples into an article to help folks. And thanks for hanging out with me for a bit to dig around in a little bit and have some conversation about it.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Josh. I love this.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Brings Cassie and I a lot of joy to be a part of your story and have these conversations with you just about life and faith and neuroscience. Like, it is such a joy to get to do this with you. It's more fun when we learn together. I got a small ask for you. Would you hit the subscribe button for this podcast? It really helps us, and it's a free way in which you can support what it is that we're doing and help others be able to connect with the same resources that you're enjoying. And if you find yourself in need of a little extra help, check out MyCounselor.Online. They're our sponsors. They make this podcast possible. The Christian counselors at MyCounselor.Online would be thrilled to come alongside you and serve you in your time of need. Hey, and Cassie and I want you to know that we're praying for you and that we're cheering you on as you mature into true happiness.